Good morning, Rabboisai. Lili Nishmasi Mimarasi Rispas Mordechai. This is serious. I can't be joking around there. Hayoim Shiva Asar Yoim Sheheim Shnei Shvois Ushlisha Yomim Ba'omer or La'omer. You know what else I didn't say? I really should say this, but I should say this in the beginning of this year, but since I missed it, I should say it now. Maybe I'll say it tomorrow also. Tremendous Hakoras HaTov to the guys in New York. I didn't mention them by name yesterday. We're in a big rush. But Yossi Klein and Benjamin Schwartz and a huge yishkoyach also to Nissan Gans from Ami Magazine, who's been working. They put me on a chat with our permission, of course. Also you become part of a WhatsApp. I didn't answer anything, but I see back and forth all day and night, literally, for weeks about this idea of giving out Gemaras to people. They're holding already by 650 Gemaras. It's unbelievable coming out of these people's pockets. Tremendous zchusim. I'm very jealous of this zchusim. They're getting people to learn Torah. Nisanel told me last night, maybe this morning at 2 a.m, that Yossi Klein was on the phone personally trying to get people a Gemara in Israel and sending it in the mail and running to the post office just for individuals. Like he was very involved in every single Gemara and whatever. It's crazy stuff that these guys are doing. If anybody wants to join, they could join. And official from Baltimore said he doesn't want them to spend another dime. He's going to take care. Kids are beautiful stuff that people are doing. Tremendous. Sponsored by Vladislav Zakharov, to thank Hashem for my recent breakthrough in my project, and by Yehoshua Ludmir as a shvach vihoidah for my beautiful new baby girl, golden dove haddasah. As I was walking up here talking about baby girl, all of a sudden a guy starts running at me, and it was ztzuk, the one who just had a baby after 21 and a half years. We were kissing like for 3 minutes. He didn't let me come to shir. He's crying. It's unbelievable. Unreal. It's an unbelievable feeling. By Hillel Abrahams, dedicated belatedly in honor of my father who passed. First day of Chol HaMoed Pesach, 2014. Reb Shimon God ben Reb Tzvi Hirsch, whose brother is on Zoom all the way from Australia very often. Uli imoy Moras Chana Zechron Levracha Dor Shmini Lahara Goy Reb Avram Achagra Zeichet Tzadik Kosh Levracha. Also dedicated to my wife's grandfather who's Yahrzeit today. Reb David Yehuda ben Yaakov Halevi Schumann Zechron Levracha. First email of Masechtas Yoma. It took me. I read it for the second time, then I realized who it is. Dear Rabbi Stefansky, my son Shmuel Yitzchok Mordechai HaKoyen, who is 11, learned Mishnayos Yoma and really wanted to start Daf Yomi by Gemara Yoma. I told him that I think if he listened to your shir, he would get a better understanding of the Gemara. As a condition, he told me that I would have to listen to your shir too. I was doing Daf Yomi by myself and through other Magadi Shurim, so just wanted to let you know, you have 2 new members of the Mishpacha who are also Mishpacha. All the best, Yosef Bain. Yosef Bain is my wife's cousin. So I saw him over Pesach, and the kid is an amazing kid. He davened for the Amud. He did all the Psuk de Zimra, comes on time, unbelievable kid. So should have atzlacha, you should be able to continue and finish Shas. By David Brandis. Good morning, Rebelli. Just wanted to say that I'm watching Yoma Daf Beis this morning, and I'm looking forward to sing the Geschmack to learn the Daf song with 90,000 others in MetLife in 2027 Siyum. As I'm sure you guys didn't enjoy this song so much, but he did. As I'm sure it will be the universal anthem of the Daf Yomi by then, David Brandis, South Bend. I'm not going to say you just said that. You don't want. I'm not going to say your name. This is by Avi. Hi, Rebelli. I was watching the welcome advice. Great song, by the way, on Yoma Daf Beis. Here it is. Great song, by the way. One of the challenges mentioned was remembering what was learned. A great program is Zichru by Reb Avram Goldhar. We spoke about. In the beginning it was easy, but to come up with new ones. I have printed out over 2,000 emails. So they're getting more and more difficult as the time goes on. Once in a while, I throw in like a shvach against but if you notice, there haven't been any hate mails. And I like hate mails, so send them in also. It's truly an amazing program. The last one I got was Psachim Daf Gimel, when I said that thing that 90% of the people, I'm talking about Zichru, Levi, come in. So Levi Freeman. He gave us he gave us new wine. So it wasn't okay. It wasn't an email, it was a phone call. It's truly an amazing program which helps retain the learning using simanim and takes literally minutes a day to learn and review. Levi, how many minutes does it take you to do zichru?
20.
How many? 20? The Chazar yesterday, so it takes 20 minutes, but Levi, all the time he remembers different things from different Gemaras with the Zichru program. It's a great program. Check it out. It's on all Daf, etc. And finally, we have Hillel Abrahams. He said he's one of the misnagdim of the green card, that in order to come to the base medrash, you have to have vaccines. I only managed to finish the process and was vaccinated as I wanted to come to the shir physically. Lo and behold, the first day you upped and fled to the USA. There will be payback. Good news. We had a grandson, as he said. He's an ancestor of the Vilna Gaon. Now, for payback, I mentioned, I've decided to apply for early registration to Daf Yomi Gan. And as you know, Daf members, for my 2 grandsons in special observer status, Bekitzer, whatever, he's threatening that he's going to bring his little children here. Fine. Rebelli, thank you for all your dedication to all of us and the shir, Hillel Abrahams, your Shekayach Hillel, the Neshama should have an aliyah. Today, Rabbi Yisai is Daf Gimel, and we are holding on the bottom of Daf. You know what? I just want to show you real quickly before we go into it. We're holding the bottom of Daf Beis. You can look for it. But before that, I want to show you what we had in New York real quickly. These are the pictures that we took. These were, I called up and I said, I want to do a live share in an hour and a half, and this is what happened at 12:15 a.m. in Monsey, New York. Monsey. Next, 1 minute, that's one. This is Brooklyn, New York. This is the center of the universe. Also, tremendous turnout with maybe 2 hours notice. The same. Noam is upset that I said that he's the stand-in. If I don't do well in my share, he keeps doing. What? 550 days ago. Oh, when he went to New York, yeah. When Noam goes, and this is the siyum in the 5 towns. This siyum, I mentioned the night before that I probably will do a shir in my room because I have to catch a flight. But then a guy came over to me after the shir and said, could I come to your room? And therefore, seriously. So I said, you know what? And then there was another guy, an older fellow who didn't want to come back at 4 in the morning. So I said, let's do a shir. But I thought it was going to be at 1 o'clock. But then I realized, I did the math, if I do 1 o'clock, I'm going to miss my flight. 12 o'clock was iffy. So I said, okay, 12 o'clock. So they only gave them about an hour to prepare, and this showed up. It was amazing. The energy in all 3 of these was just unreal. Plus the scene that we had over there. So anyway, we're holding over here Daf Beis Amud Beis. Let's start. Let's do a little bit of Chazara. Shalom Aleichem. Wow. Beautiful guest. We're talking about Shivas Yimei HaMiluim. The 7 days of the inauguration of the Mishkan. And as the Torah says, Umi Pesach Oyel Moed Lo Seitzu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Aaron and his sons, you cannot leave your Oyel Moed. I don't even know how to say the word, so you know what? No, frankincense. No, sequestra. You know what? When I was 10 years old, my parents moved to Eretz Yisrael for 3 years, and therefore my math is no good. My English. I'm just going to go like this, and you're going to say it for me. Everybody, everybody together. So there's 7 days of. Thank you, and Miluim. So that's called Shivas Yimei HaMiluim. And we learned the idea of being sequestered in just leaving your house. And from there we wanted to learn 2 similar things. For Yom Kippur and for Para Aduma, you have to leave your house. The Kohen has to leave his wife, his children, his house for 7 days. Now, that was what we learned from this pasuk. This is also by Miluim. Part of the pasuk says Lasois. That's talking about Para Aduma. Lechaper is talking about Yom Kippur. So we learned those 2 halachas from Shivas Yimei HaMiluim, which is this pasuk right over here. Says the Gemara. So we're holding over here. Lechaper means kapara. What's the typical kapara? Yom Kippur. Perhaps it means it can't be Sukkot, it can't be Pesach, because Pesach has 7 days, Sukkot has 7 days. It doesn't make sense. It has to be similar to Miluim, which is a 1-day event. Pesach 7 days, Sukkot 7 days. What about Shmini Atzeres? It's a Chag, it's a Yantif, it's 1 day, and similar to Miluim. 1 day Yantif, Shmini Atzeres. So the Gemara says that Shmini Atzeres is part of Sukkot. It doesn't make sense that you have 7 days of real Sukkot, and you have the 8th day Shmini Atzeres, and there's no Prisha, the Kohen doesn't have to go anywhere for the whole Sukkot, only for the last day called Shmini Atzeres. But what if Shmini Atzeres is its own Yantif? That makes a little bit of a difference. For that own Yantif, maybe you have to go and separate yourself for 7 days. Last line on the bottom. And even if you say that Shmini Atzeres is its own Yantif, so maybe when the Torah says L'chaper, it's referring to Shmini Atzeres, not to Yom Kippur. So the Kohen that performs that vihoidah on Shmini Atzeres would have to sequester for 7 days. For you, I'm standing up. Shalom Aleichem. Wow. It's a big one. Okay. Says the Gemara. That's only for 6 things, Pizar Kishav. Now, if we stop for a second here, I just want to point out, if you ever noticed in Shmini Atzeres, we say an interesting language. Shmini Chag Atzeres Hazeh. Why don't we say Chag Shmini Atzeres? That makes more sense grammatically. And the answer is because of this Gemara right here. It's a question whether Shmini Atzeres is a Chag by itself or not. So if you say Chag Shmini Atzeres, it would show that it's its own Yantif. That's why we say, hello to you. Shmini Chag. Yeah? Okay, as a side note. To show that it's not really its own Yantif, it's part of Sukkot. Now, before we go into what Pizar Kishav is, Shmini Atzeres says the Gemara, even if you hold its own Yantif, it's not really its own Yantif. It's only its own Yantif for 6 things, but it's really part of Sukkot, halachically. To the point, the Achreim discuss, what if a person says, Chag HaSukkos Hazeh and Yalav Yavai, instead of Shmini Chag Atzeres Hazeh? He's Yahrzeit b'diavad, l'chayr. So why is it its own Yantiv according to this man Omar for Pizar Kishav? But let's say if a person forgot to bring a chagiga, we discussed yesterday, people don't know what a chagiga is. Okay, so here we're discussing it a little bit. Person forgot to bring his karban chagiga, oylas ria. What are the karbanos he has to bring during Yantiv? Tashlum de Rishanu. So when he makes it up, he can make up, let's say if a person forgot to bring his karban chagiga, every Yantiv you have to bring a karban chagiga. Nothing to do with the karban Pesach. In addition to the karban Pesach, you have to bring a karban chagiga. On Pesach, you bring one also on Yedalad the day before to make up, so you eat karban Pesach ala soiva, so that's 2 karban chagigas. But let's say on Sukkot, you forgot to bring the karban chagiga the first day of Sukkot, so you could bring it on Shmini Atzeres. Could you bring a karban chagiga for Sukkot on Chanukah? No. You bring it on Shmini Atzeres because it's part of Sukkot. So why Shmini Atzeres different? For Pizar Kishav. Whoever didn't bring the karban chagiga in the beginning of Yantiv, and he could continue bringing it also on Shmini Atzeres. Why? Because Shmini Atzeres is part of Sukkot. Now, what is this Pizar Kishav? So, I think I brought it. I guess I didn't. Oh, that would be strange. Okay, I forgot to bring it. I printed it. I know I printed it. Fell on the floor somewhere. I'll just make sure because I'm going to come home. I'm going to see it in this pile. No, not here. Okay. Oh, here it is. Yep. Okay. Pizar Kishav. First thing is that during Sukkot there's 70 cows. We know that the first day of Sukkot we bring 13 cows as a karban. The second day you bring 12. Third day 11. You keep on going down 1 for a total of 70. But the final day, the Shmini Atzeres, is only 1 cow, and that has to go for all the kehanim. So the final one is bepayis. It goes with a goyro. Okay. Who gets it? Which one of the 24 mishmaros? Goyro. Zayin is for zman. So we say a shechiyanu, a special shechiyanu on Shmini Atzeres. You don't say shechiyanu on Chol HaMoed, you don't say, last day you say shechiyanu. Regel, It has its own name, its own shmini atzeres, its own yontif name. Korban, it has its own carbon. It's par echad, ayel echad. You don't go, let's say you're holding at 7, you don't go to 6, 5, 3, 2. You don't do 5 parim. It's 1 par, 1 ayel. Shear. So Rashi says that he doesn't know what shir shel yom you do on Shmini Atzeres. Taisus says maybe it's lam natzeach ala shminis because in shuls they say that, and perhaps because in the shul that shows that that's what they did in the Beis Hamikdash. Not clear, but there's a different shir shel yom. Although he brings here that during the days of Chol HaMoed you say something called ham behayei. Hey vav, each one relates. There's a different shir shel yom. You don't say hayom yom shlishi b'Shabbos. You say hayom, whatever it is. Like on Rosh Chodesh you say baruch nafshi. So and that's how they do in Eretz Yisrael. There's a special mizmor for every day of Chol HaMoed. And finally, bracha, beis is bracha. It's a special bracha that you give the king. It started with Shlomo HaMelech, bracha for the king. So Taisus Shan says that's why, if you ever wondered why on Simchas Torah there's a long bracha for the person who gets Chasim Torah and Chasim Bereishis, it's from this, he says. Because the bracha that we used to give the king, we give a bracha, a very nice long bracha to Chasim Bereishis and Chasim Torah. Okay, the Ema Atzeres, the Prishas Shivali Mechadu. Who told you that this pasuk, again, we're learning 2 halachas, that, what's going on here? Okay, this pasuk is talking about, we said Yom Kippur. That for Yom Kippur, you have to separate the kohen for 7 days. Maybe it's talking about Shavuos. Ve'emat Tzeres. That's what you asked yesterday, right? And I said some made-up teretz when you don't learn the following. Ve'emat Tzeres, the priest of Shivli Yom Echadu. Omer V'abba, Darin par echad, va'ayel echad, mi par echad, va'ayel echad. So the Gemara says like this. By the way, here's a beautiful picture from Kol HaLashon of Lishkas Behedrin, where they put the kohen in right over here. This is the Mizbeach, and you see this is the Lishkas Behedrin. There's a pasuk by Miluim. This is Miluim. And it says, 1 bakar, 1 ayil. So that's what we want to get to. That's what we're talking about. We're learning from Miluim. How much? 1 cow, 1 ayil, 1 ram. A ram, here I brought it. It's going from Pesach to here. Here's our ram. This is an adult. No, this is not a ram, sorry. Throw that out. That's a goat. Okay. Yeah, whatever. Usually rams, I could have, but the Olam realized it had a beard. I almost pulled it off. Nobody said a word. Sphira. All right, very good. This is the ram in Sphira. Gewaldig. What about this? No, what's the pshat over here? This man is also Sphira. You can't cut your nails in Sphira. Okay, great. We'll save this for Korban Pesach. So it has to match up. The Musaf of Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is also Bakar Echad, Ayel Echad. So matches. Echad Echad. We have over here the carbon of Shavuos that goes together with the 2 breads you put on the Mizbeach. Bakar Echad, Eilim Shnayim. This is the problem. That's 2. It's 2 rams, and it doesn't match Miluim, which is 1 ram. That's great if Yom Kippur is indeed 1 ram. But what happens if Yom Kippur is 2 rams? Now Yom Kippur and Shavuos are identical. So why do you pick Yom Kippur over Shavuos? Who says it's 2 rams? Rabbi Omer. Ayel echad hu ha'amur. Kanu ha'amur b'chumash ha'pikudim. So, when you have Chumash HaPikudim is the famous Parshas Pinchas that talks about here. We just did it. Parshas Pinchas. In Parshas Pinchas, it also discusses not only Sukkos and Pesach, also Yom Kippur, and this is part of Parshas Pinchas. Ayel bakar echad, ayel echad. However, Hu Amr over here by this one right over here. Here's another one. Vayal echad. So the question is, this ayil, is this the same as this? And this is Vayikra. This is Parshas Pinchas Bamidbar. This is Vayikra. It says ayil echad. The machlokes is it the same ayil that we're talking, or it's a second one? If it's two, then it's similar to Shavuos. That's two. What's the difference? This has two, and these two psukim together equal two. That's the shayla. Ayil echad, ayil echad. Kanu Amor Rabbi Ayil echad hu Amor. Kanu Amor b'chumash hapikudem. Hu Amor. How do they? Is there a? Rabbi Ayil echad hu Amor kan. It's one. It's one here and one over there equals two. 1 plus 1 is 2. Says Gemara, that it's 2. You're right, it's 2, but it's not similar to Shavuos. Over here, there's one for the day itself, for Yom Kippur itself, and one of them is a musaf. Here. Parshas Pinchas is all about Musafim. The whole Parshas Pinchas is Musaf. We lay in it on Musaf. We lay in it on Yom Kippur by Daf Torah, right? Musaf. But this one is different. 1 and 1 doesn't equal 2. 1 is for Musaf. It's a Haisafa to the Tmidim. Milvad Oilas HaTamid. Not only do you bring Oilas HaTamid, you also have to bring another Musaf. What does Musaf mean? In addition to. And then there's one that's Chayvas Hayayim. It's because of Yom Kippur, nothing to do with the Tamid. Separate. Masha'enkein in Shavuos you bring 2 for Shavuos, for the Lechem. There's a nice pshat down here in the Taisis Yishanim. He says, all the way down on the bottom, 2 lines from the bottom, he says, 1 is L'Doiran. The Musaf is more for a gift, so to speak, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And 1 is Vilu Shel Aaron L'Kapara. The chayvus, what does chayvus hayayim mean? This is chayvus and this is that. 1 is for kapara and 1 is for a gift to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They're accomplishing 2 separate things. So if they're 2 separate things, they're not equal to Shavuos where they both come for the same thing. Maybe, no. It says musaf. The shaila is what the other one is. Musaf is musaf. You don't need a kapara. You're doing other, there's 13 korbanos in Yom Kippur. There's other ones for Chayvus Hayim maybe. Ve'ema Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so it's not Shavuos, but maybe this pasuk back here. The Chaper Aleichem, who told you, going back to yesterday's pasuk, the beautiful green, who told you that this, the Chaper Aleichem, is referring to Yom Kippur? Perhaps it's Rosh Hashanah. Now we know Rosh Hashanah is 2 days, but Midiraisa Rosh Hashanah is 1 day. So it fits in very well. We said it can't be a Yom Tov that's more than 1 day, because that's to be similar to Miluim, that's 1 day. But Rosh Hashanah is supposed to be 1 day. We do 2 days, Misafik. Even in Eretz Yisrael, Safik. Because of Rosh Chodesh, it's the first day of the month, so people don't have a chance to realize that it's Rosh Chodesh, and they'll be Mechal Yom, so we do 2 days. Remember Rosh Hashanah? The Prisha Shiva Liyam Echadu. It's 7 days of sequestration. Thank you, new guy. What's your name again? Aryeh. Shalom Aleichem Aryeh. Thank you. You guys are all fashluf, and the new guy is on top of it. Apogat says Rosh Hashanah the Tzibur Ninu. So, look at this pasuk. Bezois Yovei Aaron el Hakodesh bepar ben boker lechatas v'ayla. Aaron has to come with his own korbanos. It's his own. He's not bringing from the tzibur. So milum also. It's the Kohen Gadol's own. Yom Kippur, his own. And it's interesting to point out that based on this pasuk, the Vilna Gaon says a very interesting thing. We know that a Kohen Gadol cannot go into Kodesh HaKodashim besides 1 day of the year on Yom Kippur. But the Vilna Gaon says from this pasuk you see that any time Aaron decides to bring the korbanos, he can enter the Kodesh HaKodashim even on Chanukah. As I zok there. Says the Gemara. And now we are turning to Daf Gimel Amud Beis, sponsored by 3 different individuals Zchus for 3 shidduchim. Zchus. This is by Stephen Sokolow and Rabbi Badner himself, Menachem Atez's cousin, had the zchus to meet him in New York for his daughter Dina Tamar Bas Esther Rivka, sponsored by Saralina, l'zchus shidduch for Saralina Bas Golale, also met him. I think he wants to remain anonymous, and sponsored l'zchus Shendel Rachel Bas Avraham, all for shidduchim. Noam, you got to get working here. You got to open up a shidduch thing initiative. So if you just read the words, kach lecha, you should buy, purchase yourself. V'asei lecha, you shall make yourself. L'chayr means, the simple wording means, mishalcha, it should be from your own pocket. The tzibur is not paying for this. El amando amar mishal tzibur, ma'ikel meimar. If it comes from the community, how does it fit in? The sanyo kach lecha. So, you're telling me the whole nafkamina is because Aaron had to pay for it. It's similar to Miluim. He paid for it. But if you hold that it's just wording, but in reality, Aaron never paid for it. He took it from the community pushka. So then why can't it be Rosh Hashanah? The only reason you're telling me it's Yom Kippur is because Yom Kippur has to be paid for by the Kohen Gadol. But he doesn't really have to pay. There's a mandama that says, it just says lecha, but it doesn't mean lecha. It means the community. Where do we see this? This Anya. 2 lines down from the top. Kach lecha mishalcha. V'asei lecha mishalcha. Anytime the Torah says the word kach lecha, purchase it. Asei lecha, make it. Mishalcha, it's yours. V'yikroi lecha mishal tzibur. When it says v'yikroi lecha, it's the community. Rabbi Yoshia. However, Rabbi Yonasan is the problem here. According to Rabbi Yonasan, oimer ben kach lecha, ben v'yikroi lecha mishal tzibur. So therefore, Miluim was also the tzibur. Who purchased the Miluim? Even though Aaron and his sons did it, the tzibur. So so say it's Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah also the tzibur purchases it. And then we go weiter. So that's the question. Okay, that's the end of the question. So then why does the Torah use an interesting language? You purchase it. We know kaviyachol, we use it as a lashon, like anytime we talk about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's a lashon that's not nice to say. Like HaKadosh Baruch Hu kaviyachol is holding your hand. It's not so nice to say. Like he's not HaKadosh Baruch Hu hold you. Kaviyachol. So over here also, it's a lashon that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want to say it. To say, I would prefer you, Moshe Rabbeinu's carbon than from Klal Yisrael's. Not so nice. It's a patch to Klal Yisrael. Okay, but we still have the question. Miluim comes from the community, and therefore, what's your answer that L'chaper Aleichem cannot be Rosh Hashanah because that comes from the community? It's a perfect match. We're talking about the Aron. Here, Baruch Hashem, I received yesterday permission again from Chol HaMoed to use their beautiful sefer. They have it in print. They don't want to really do PDF, I think, but they gave reshus, and you could purchase the PDF, only 20 shekel. It's just simli. How do you say simli in English? Symbolic. Thank you. Wow, that was not everybody at one time. It's bushes. Okay, this is the Aron right over here with the kruvim on top. This is for later on. Daf, you test or something. The kohen is doing the ketores here. But this Aron, it says in one pasuk, "V'asisa lecha," you should make it from your own money. It seems like. Now, if you recall, we learned in Shkalim Machlokes, was it 1 box, 2 boxes? Which one did they take till Milchama? Was it a one-time deal that they took the Aron out? Or maybe they had a special one that went out to war and one that remained behind? Okay, we're not going to go into that. But even if you say that it's 2, but it seems like it's V'asu Aron Etzli, then both should be made by yourself, by Aaron. Or with your own money. Or both of them are made by the community fund. Okay, Tzad. So how do we explain this? When Klal Yisrael does HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will, then it's as if they made the Aron. But if they don't do HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will, then they did not make the Aron. It's a very interesting yesod. You can give tzedakah from today to tomorrow, but if you're not doing the right thing, the Gemara says, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not machshav it. You have to do the right thing in order for your tzedakah to be applied and get credit for it. Everybody gave the machzah shekel. The whole part of it But it doesn't count as if they did it because they don't do Ratzon Hashem. Giving tzedakah is not enough. You have to have the right attitude. So the Gemara answers, so that's the question. Says the Gemara an answer. The only machlokes we have, whether lecha means purchase from your own pocket or from the community fund, is a typical wording in the Torah. Here's the alma, for instance. Kach lechasamim, you should buy the psamim for the Torahs. Asiya is the alma. Asay l'chashtei chatzis is kesef. There's a madam that says, how do you make those trumpets? With your own money. Interesting halacha. Make your own trumpets. Or no. The other madam says no, it should be from the community. Fine, that's a typical wording in the Torah. But these, Yom Kippur and Miluim, this is mefurish in the Torah. It's explained, no, it must be from your own wallet. Because look, it's mefurish, you can be medayik in the pasuk. The first pasuk says, Klal Yisrael, kechu. What does kechu mean? You, the whole Klal Yisrael has to pay for it. Series in lechatos. And then it says in the pasuk, right before actually, the pasuk before, an individual has to pay for it from his own pocket. So what's going on here? Is it kechu, everybody, the community, or lecha, he himself? So we must explain. Lamali. It's a stira. It's a contradiction. Lamali over here doesn't mean why do I need that pasuk. Over here means it's a contradiction. It's not. It's to explain that typically the Torah means the community. And over here, I want you to know that it's different than all of the Torah. It's your own pocket. Is it Aaron? We had the pasuk before here. Seems like he himself has to pay for it. Who pays for it? Me'es, from Adas B'nai Yisrael. It's a community. Again, a stira. So it's a stira, not lamali again. Interesting wording. Not why do I need the pasuk? But the pasuk contradicts. So finally you see the reason it's not a contradiction, it's an explanation that this is different than all of the Torah. That over here, Aaron HaKohen has to pay for it from his own wallet. Okay, so now going back to the question. Should have that on top at all times. We did all this already? Here we go. Colorful. Wait a minute, just because you sponsored today's share doesn't give you special rights to ask questions. Oh, so what? You missed yesterday's share? I addressed that. Gzeir Shava, it tells us that Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu, this is the word here, when we discussed Tziva. This is the Gzeir Shava, Tziva. But over the generations, or whatever, there's some confusion. What Tziva? Is it from the Miluim? Is it from the Korbanos? Is it from Yom Kippur? Is it from Rosh Hashanah? Is it from Sukkot? The word Tziva is there. The Gzeir Shava, the idea is it came from Allah HaMashiach Sinai, you're right. Exactly where to pinpoint it, that's where the confusion is. Unlike other limudim, by the way, I was just kidding, Hill. I like when you ask questions. Good ones. Okay. Now, you want to know why this L'chaper Aleichem is referring to Yom Kippur and not anything else? Because Yom Kippur is similar not in the amount, not in the number of parim and the number of elim, but in the type. And that's very important. What type is it? Par lechatos. Look at this. Bakar lechatos. There's a bakar, a par. Va'ayala. So that fits in right away. That fits into the miloim, if we can find it somewhere over here. Here. It's a good thing I put this. All this was printed. And then I said, well, what's going on? There's way too many. I have to add boxes. I threw everything out. Redo it. You know how it works. Miloim. Bakar lechatos va'ayala. So the type, the chatos, and the ayla are identical. Where in Rosh Hashanah, it's not like that. Lapugi Rosh Hashanah, Va'atzeres, Rosh Hashanah and Shavuos, the Tarvayu, Oilas Ninu. There's no chatas. They're both Oila. Ravina Amar, Donan Ma'avodah B'Koyin Gadol, Ma'avodah B'Koyin Gadol. Who performs the Avodah Yom Kippur? Every part of the Avodah is the Koyin Gadol. There's no other Koyanim involved, like we said yesterday. Even the Kabbalah, imagine, you have to do the shchita and grab the blood from the first burst of blood, the immediate blood. So how do you do that? He does most of it and he drops the knife, somebody else takes over. He has to do everything. And Miluim also, everything is the Kohen Gadol. To exclude all the questions we had, Shavuos, Rosh Hashanah. That's, any Kohen could perform it. You don't need a Kohen Gadol. The Gemara is going to explain what that word means. The first. Miluim is the first, and Yom Kippur is the first for some reason. My tchila, what does it mean, tchila? It's the first time the Kohen Gadol performed that vihoidah. Hanukkah Maisa, that's exactly the first teretz of the Gemara. It was the first time ever in that place called the Kodesh HaKodashim that avodah was performed. The Miluim. And in Yom Kippur, the first time Kohen Gadol ever went into the Kodesh HaKodashim, so it's the first, not the first person, but the first type of avodah in the place. This is easy. Gemara, Rabbi Isai. Basically, things that we learned already up until now. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi Masni Tarti. What does that mean? From this pasuk, Rabbi Yochanan doesn't learn la'asos and l'chaper. La'asos meaning for that you have to sequester the kohen for 7 days for the paraduma and also for Yom Kippur. He only learns one limud. And Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says no, like we learned up until now. So no big chiddush here. Only the fact that Rabbi Yochanan removes one. The whole pasuk is talking about Yom Kippur, nothing to do with a paraduma. We don't have a paraduma here. No, we have two. Rabbi Yochanan asked the Chada, what are we going to do with our Mishnah? Shivas Yom Kodim Yom Kippurim. And there's another Mishnah, in Masechtas Para, that says, V'shivas Yom Kodim Streifas HaPara. You need to sequester the Kohen for 7 days. What are we going to do? Says the Gemara Ma'ila Ba'alma. When it comes to Paraduma, it's not that they learned it from the Pasuk. It's a Chumrah. What's the Chumrah? Like we learned yesterday. Since they take a Sheretz, or somebody wrote me an email, tells you, we're going to see later. Machlok is how it exactly happens. Sheretz, not Sheretz. But they take a perfectly tahar kohen and they put tum on him. They make him tameh. The Rabban and the Reisa, whatever it is, they make him tameh. And then they put him in a mikvah to show that zdukim are wrong, that he could perform the paraduma when he's still in a slight state of tumah because he didn't have sundown yet. There's no shkia. He's called a tvul yom. So now people are going to be mizalzel. They say, look, you can do a paraduma when you're tameh, sort of. So when we started making chumras, like we said, klei galalim, klei adama. So another chumrah they did, they started piling on all these chumras to show that paraduma is serious stuff. You take a kohen gadol out of his house in front of everybody, no wife, no children, no house, put him in a little room for 7 days. Why? He's about to do the shchita on the paraduma. So people, woo, paraduma's chashav. They let him do it after he was toivel immediately. That's for a different reason. But the paraduma's chashav, no zilzal. No, because there were mizalzel in the paraduma. They made him tameh. That's the only carbon that they had to show the zdukim that they were wrong. They put him down, so they had to bring it back up. Problem. Because it says Amar Rabbi Yochanan. We just said Rabbi Yochanan says that this pasuk only gives us one limud, Yom Kippur, not paraduma. And over here it says paraduma is included as well. Who says it? Rabbi Yochanan is saying it. How can you say Rabbi Yochanan didn't say it? Says the Gemara, the famous answer, Ahud Rabbi. He wasn't saying what he himself believes. He was quoting his Rebbe. You're right, Rabbi Yochanan said it. He was just quoting his Rebbe. Rabbi Yochanan said in the name of Rabbi Yishmael, you're right. Rabbi Yochanan once said it in a shir, quoting his Rebbe, Rabbi Yishmael. What does he himself hold? He argues on his Rebbe. He says this pasuk only says one time midairaisa does a kohen need to be mufresh from his house, and that is Yom Kippur, not paraduma. It's so beautiful. You guys realize there's no Yerzeit, no nusach changes, no Vilna Gaons on the side that change everything backwards. It doesn't say puzzle, it says not puzzle. It doesn't say tar, it says tar. Well, what is going on here? Okay. Regular Gemara, we're back to regular Gemara. Easier dapim, smaller dapim, beautiful. Mamish. Haydu Lashem ki toiv kilam chazdoi. Amalei Rish Lakish le Rabbi Yochanan. Mehecha ko yavazla. Mimiluim. So says Rish Lakish le Rabbi Yochanan. Where are you learning this whole thing out? That Yom Kippur, you have to sequester for 7 days. You're learning it from Miluim. Imam Miluim kol hakosabem ma'akiv. If Aaron HaKohen deviated from one thing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, puzzle. He has to do exactly what Hashem said. Avachanami. So by Yom Kippur also, everything should be exact. Okay, so we'll go. We'll flow with you. We'll roll. You have to do everything. What does it say in our Mishnah? It says another kohen, just in case he becomes tamei. So what's maskinim? I discussed yesterday. Do we really bring him into the room together with him? Does he have to be mufresh really or not? Most Rishonim say no. He stays home. Maskinim. Maybe he'll say no. We have to remove that kohen away from his own home also. Listening, so why does he use a funny lashon maskinim? By the kohen gadol it says mafrishim, and by the second kohen that the designated kohen, it doesn't say the word mafrishim. So use the same language to be consistent. And you, where do you learn it from? You don't learn it from Miluim. Omar Sinai. I learn it from Matan Torah. The Chsiv. Vayishkin kvoid Hashem al Har Sinai. V'chaseu on sheshes yomim. Hakosh Baruch Hu. Moshe Rabbeinu was on Har Sinai, and the cloud covered Moshe Rabbeinu for 6 days. Vayikra Moshe b'yom hashvi. And then on the 7th day he called him. Michlik Siv Vayikra Moshe b'yom hashvi. If Hakosh Baruch Hu spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu on the 7th day, my sheshes yomim. Obviously, he was there for 6 days. On the 7th day, he spoke to him. Why do I have to talk about the 6 days? Anytime that you talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you have to prepare yourself. You must separate from your wife, from your house for 6 days. But that still doesn't make sense, because we spoke about 7 days separation. What's the 6? Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira is concerned for a very far-fetched concern that perhaps during relations his wife will be a nida and he'll become tamei as a nida for 7 days, and therefore we're mafresh, we do another day, Mela, a boisai. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk about the shach at a different time. I wanted to say it, but we're late. Have a wonderful day. Shema Eloi is welcome to Sichad Eloi. Fast the call. Amud Beis. He's having the son of she. No, it's all about the young. It's all about the young. Shalom Aleichem, how are you? Thank you. Zchus. Thank you. Stretch the leaf pill. What? We don't know where it's gonna go. Be'ezer Hashem. I gotta go to this thing. What's going on? Wow. 1 minute. It's from who? Oh, it's the same guy. This is called Alshon, I think. It's not the same pictures? Yishkoyach, because if it's not, then I just buy it. I need the PDF file. I'm going to check it out. Thank you so much. Yishkoyach, thank you. Thank you. Uh-oh. What happened? What did you guys hear? What didn't you hear? What? How you doing? Welcome. Thanks for coming. Beautiful, beautiful. Don't get ahead. Stay with the daf. It's great consistency. It'll keep you focused. So Shabbos, Sunday, that's the beauty of the daf. Don't go ahead. Don't fall behind. Always be with the daf. Don't hear. Take it in. I'm telling you from experience. Because then you lose that consistency. You don't do it certain days. You say, look, I'm ahead anyways. I don't have to learn today. This doing it every single day is what counts. That's what's the beauty of the Daf Yomi. Every single day. It's about the Yomi. It's not about the Daf. All right. Great meeting you. Yeah. It's great to see you. What? I can't hear so well. I need headphones. I know your question. When am I going to read your email? Be'ez Hashem. Actually, it's a good email. I got to read it. It's a good email, Eli. Yeah. If I what with the daf? Oh, no, let's hear. It's a terrible thing. I hear the question. It's a terrible, terrible thing. No, but you know what the answer is? The answer is, it's not a terrible thing because he's not really married to her. We're going to see in the Gemara if he really marries or doesn't really marry. Let's get there. Then we'll decide. Yeah. Good question, Eli. Very, very good question. I like it. You're talking like a lamdan. Oh, Gedalia. Gedalia, what's going on? I'm back in Israel. I'm not going to come visit you in San Francisco. Sorry. What? No, how'd you do? How much did you sleep? I like the pace. It's better.